take projection.
Welcome everybody to Taking on Sports. I am TD. That is Greg. Greg, how you doing today, man?
I am good. How are you today, buddy?
I'm pretty good, pretty good. Uh, yeah, just enjoying a nice Sunday here. Uh,
Sir.
but yeah, I guess we'll kick things off. Let's go. We'll start with Bama hoops this week. A very roller coaster week for the Tide.
And it
Uh,
was.
a great enthralling overtime win Wednesday over Florida. Um, and then turned around, went to Rupp Arena yesterday and got smoked. Um, what do you make of the Tides week?
Well, you know what? I like the heart from Wednesday night there. I mean, it was definitely a good win there. It was a hard fought win there. One of the prettiest of games, but they overcame some things. I mean, one of first, the absence of Latrell Wright has been huge.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Absolutely.
um, and the 3-point shot wasn't going. Probably one of Mark Sears' worst games as of late. I mean, he picked it up in the second half, but I mean, he looked a little off in that first half. So,
Mm-hmm.
but
Um, no, yeah, for sure. His absence was felt. Whitesell's absence was felt. Sears didn't have his best game, but the whole team picked it up. And then yesterday, uh, don't really know what happened. All you can say is Kentucky shot at an incredible rate all game
mhm,
long, and
yeah,
Bama couldn't keep up. It was just one of those games, really. I mean, do you take a lot of
yeah.
stock in the loss yesterday, or you just kind of chalk it up and go, "Oh well"? Like,
I mean, the only thing I would really say, the only thing that you find troubling is that, but I mean, it's not really a big thing because, of course, the biggest games coming up is going to be on neutral courts. The SEC tournament, the NCAA tournament. But we have all our three big losses on the road have
mm-hmm,
had similar things. You go into a Tennessee, a Auburn, Kentucky, um, and they go on big runs middle of the first half, and it just kills us. We don't ever really respond. I
mm-hmm.
mean, yesterday Kentucky went on a 20-2 run. We're keeping it close before that run. I mean, it was back and forth, and they just opened it up, and we just, I don't know. After that, we were done.
Yeah, there
I
were
would
like
say,
10 lead changes halfway
yeah.
through the first half or something.
And the first 10 minutes was, real up and down. It fit our style because I mean that's our style. But yeah, they just opened it up. We weren't hidden. I would say yesterday probably the biggest takeaway is the defense was horrible. I mean they were.
Yeah,
I mean their shooting percentage was great, but I mean there was no. They had separation. I mean we weren't in their face at all. I mean they were wide open shots. I mean, um, now, as far as taking away for the length of the season, no. I mean, I don't. I mean, it's pretty much one of those games you throw away. You got to get better. You just move on from it. You know what? Not really much to study because everything that went wrong could have went wrong yesterday.
yeah.
Um, it's just one of those games. But now, it gets a little tougher. Just because, of course, we have Ole Miss on the road, another road game against not as good a team, but still a much improved team.
Well, I'm about to say improved from the years recently,
Yeah,
but
right.
at the moment, an ice cold team.
Yeah,
They've lost 5 of
right.
their last 6, and the only
Yeah,
win during that stretch was at home over winless Missouri. Missouri who's
yeah,
winless in SEC. So
that is
maybe
true.
they're catching the Rebels at the right time. Could be a good chance for a bounce back.
Possibly. Yeah.
Uh,
But I mean, it is a road game. So, yeah. But
yeah.
yeah, I would think that we should bounce back well. You would think
Mhm.
the practices this week before, was it Wednesday night's game, I believe, are going to be pretty brutal. I would
Yeah.
say Nate will be in their ass all week. Um, and then, of course, the big one next Saturday, college game day will be there. Huge atmosphere, revenge game against Tennessee.
Hmm.
And, we should have a lot to say with who wins the regular season championship. Because of course now we're tied with Tennessee, and they currently have the
Yep.
tiebreaker, being that they're up one on us. So,
Yeah,
so it's
absolutely huge
an
game.
important
Yeah.
week,
Yeah.
very important week coming up. I think from yesterday, I guess I'm more shocked not that we lost, but just the fact that we just got absolutely housed.
Hmm.
I mean, that was the most Kentucky has ever put on us. Most that we've ever. I mean, re-
Most that they've ever put up against a opponent in the top 25.
so it's just ugly, and it got bad to worse, and yeah. I mean, I think but I think they felt that it was a must win on their end simply because I mean they had a bad loss to LSU.
Hmm.
And even before then, they got a little better, but I mean, they've had a lot of home losses. People are calling for Cal's head, as they always do at
Yeah.
Kentucky. But I mean, they seem to feel a little bit more pressure. I mean, and they just came out hitting. And, honestly, I don't, Kentucky's a talented team, but I mean, they're not, they're not a great team. We
Hmm.
probably won't see Kentucky do anything like that for the rest of the season. It's one of those. They were hitting on everything. It's once a season type thing. I doubt we'll see Kentucky play like that for the rest of the season.
Yeah,
We just
and
have
they had lost their previous game to LSU, so it shows
yeah,
how up and down they can be too.
yeah. I mean, they had that big lead and lost it, but yeah, I mean, we've had our struggles with Kentucky as we know, and Rupp Arena has never been fun place for us for most of the time. A lot of the time, just hadn't been a fun place for us at all. But we still, the good thing we still have a control in our own destiny to win the SEC.
Hmm.
Three of our last, two of our last four games are at home. The other games, of course, Ole Miss should be a win. Going to Gainesville will be tough, but I mean, this week is pretty much, I think, will tell a lot of where we're going to be as far as SEC champions or not.
Hmm.
Of course, still more than likely be a top four. I mean, we're probably a top four, so we'll get that double bye there in the SEC tournament. So,
Hmm. Yeah, and Tennessee's week is not easy either. They host
yeah,
Auburn on Wednesday,
yeah,
so
that's a
uh,
tough game.
yeah, that's a back-to-back tough ones for them.
All right,
So yeah, I think by Saturday, after Saturday's games, we'll know a lot more about the SEC picture
all right, for sure.
as far as the regular season goes.
All right, definitely up and
One
down.
one question, you talked about the defense, obviously, so that's where I wanted to go. Is the Alabama defense as good as it's going to get this year, or do you think they can still improve?
I think we are kind of who we are.
Mhm.
When things are going well, we play good defense. When things get away from us, we kind of get away from who we are. We've seen. I mean, we've seen instances where they play good defense. They play good defense from both their games against LSU, the second game of Mississippi State at home. I thought we played somewhat decent defense against Florida and Auburn. At home. I just think we're not a good road team. Um, but I think that some of it just has to do with playing on the road and the opponents that we play good defense. But I guess that's kind of troubling, only because the type of opponent that we struggle the most with is the type of team we're going to see in the tournament. So,
Yeah,
now being that it's on a neutral court, that helps us out. And I think if we get right, so if he comes back healthy, obviously he had that concussion protocol.
hmm,
Missed two games, so I would think should at least be back by next Saturday. I don't know what is what is looking at for the Ole Miss game for now. But you know, I think it just shows how much he really means to the team with him. Just an extra, 12, 15 points. Probably our best 3-point shooter on the team. I'd say most consistent anyway.
yeah, absolutely. Um, No, for sure. Yeah, his return, and then if Nick Pringle keeps playing as well as he did against Florida, if
Mhm.
he gets consistently plays well, that would be a huge pickup for the team as well.
Yeah,
They need that inside presence.
yeah, I'm just seeing a big body. And he has some. He can score at times. I mean, we don't
Mm-hmm.
need to always put up points, but he can give you 10. If he gives you 10 to 12, I mean, if he can give us a double double, I mean, that'd be
Mm-hmm.
fantastic. That's all
Yeah,
we
with
really need from him.
like 4 or 5 offensive rebounds,
Mhm.
yeah, get us 8 to 10 points on just putbacks, right
Yeah,
there. That's huge.
and if he can, cause people not to be able to drive the lane, or even
Mm-hmm.
if he doesn't block a shot, just change the trajectory of how they shoot, or anything
Mm-hmm.
to force a miss here and there. Because I mean, that's once it comes tournament time, it's going to come down to the small things. One or two things here
Mm-hmm.
and there, the difference in the game. Um, but, but I think for the most part, we are who we are. We've been who, with the, we are who we are every game. It's just a matter
Mm-hmm.
of if the three balls falling and they're feeling good, then they play great defense. Well, I think our biggest thing is, and sometimes we've picked it up and other times we haven't, is if things don't go as planned, or the three balls not falling and people's shots, we get a little cold, you know that hey, you got to pick it up on that other end, because sometimes you get the turnover, and we love that transition offense. That's where the best in. You got to open that up so you can get the easy buckets, build your confidence. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what that's been our biggest struggle, is when we get down on ourselves and we stop playing defense. But our good defense is what opens up everything for us, because
Mm-hmm.
as we saw yesterday, we got a lot of half court sets, and that was not pretty at all.
No, not at all. But yeah, if that offense plays up to its potential every night, they can get hot for the streak, the length of a tournament. And
We know when
like,
we're on, we're scary.
uh, yeah, and like Jimmy Dyke said the other week, we mentioned it last week, I think, but Alabama's defense doesn't have to be great; it just needs to be good.
Yeah,
Um,
you can't you can't give up. Uh,
117, no.
yeah, you can't give up 100 and whatever to a Kentucky team.
Hmm.
And the thing is, I guess, but yeah, at this point, you just throw it away and move on to the next, because
Hmm.
you really learn from a game like that. Um,
No.
because they
Um,
know they're much better than that. We know they're much better than that. But it is what it is.
yeah, like you said, move on to the next one. We go to Oxford Wednesday. A sneaky, tough environment. Even though, like we said, it's a ice cold Ole Miss
Right.
team, but still, you go there, you got to handle business and get ready for Saturday.
Exactly. Now, that's
Maybe,
one thing I
yeah,
will say is we bounced back well. When
yes,
we after
hmm,
that after the Tennessee loss, we bounced back well.
hmm,
After the Auburn loss, we bounced back well. So I really don't
hmm.
think we'll have a problem bouncing back. I mean,
No, yeah,
he, so I do
yeah,
have confidence.
absolutely. This is a team that bounces back well. Another big one next weekend too. Florida at South Carolina.
Hmm.
And then Auburn hosts State on Saturday. So those are those two teams. If you look at the standing, it's Tennessee, Alabama in first at 11-3, and Auburn and South Carolina right behind them at 10-4.
Hmm.
Uh, the
You
team's
know,
kind of still alive. Yeah.
right. And kudos to South Carolina. That was a team at first. I was like, well, it's kind of nice that they're there, but
Hmm.
kind of, as the season's gone on, you're like, wow, they're not going anywhere.
No. Yeah.
Thought, they'd have a fall off once conference play picked up. They had a kind of a soft,
Yeah.
out of conference schedule to build up their confidence, and then
Hmm.
you thought, well, once SEC play starts, they'll fall off a little bit, but for the
No.
most part, they
No.
held their own. They seem to have gotten the right coach to put things together down
Hmm.
in Columbia. So yeah, they're not going anywhere. So yeah, it's a big. Will be a big Saturday. 'Cause, yeah, like you said.
Yeah. It turns out Ole Miss was that team. They came into SEC play 13-0, and
Hmm.
yeah, they're 6-8 in conference. But
Yeah.
Yeah, elsewhere around college hoops this week, a couple upsets. We had earlier in the week Washington State over Arizona in
But
Tucson
Washington,
was a surprise
good
one.
team.
Yeah. hmm
You know,
And then
I,
they turned around. They lost, but yesterday though, didn't they?
I think they did.
Yeah.
But they're, but they were tied with first going into yesterday with Arizona.
hmm
Honestly, I can't say I watched a lot of Washington State basketball, but they've had a good season. And
Yeah,
then,
yeah. We had Creighton had a wild week. They upset UConn earlier in the week, only to turn around
boom,
and lose to St. John's yesterday.
yeah,
Looks like Rick Pitino got his message across.
hey,
Um,
that was crazy because yeah, he really he went in on everybody. He said, "Hey, the players suck, the facilities suck. this
mhm,
isn't this isn't what I, this is what it isn't where." But man, yeah. So,
mhm.
but hey, I
We
guess it worked.
we just now had a upset of sorts, a little one, not a big one at all. On CBS here, Ohio State hits a buzzer beater to beat Michigan State in East Lansing.
Yeah.
Um, and then the big one that's generating news this week is Wake Forest over Duke
Hmm.
yesterday, and not really because of the result. It wasn't upset, but because of the fans storming the court afterwards appear to hurt Duke's Kyle Filipowski.
Hmm.
And now, so it's, the debate has come up once again,
Did they
maybe
get rid?
justifiably so. Yeah, what do we do um, with these court stormings? That they're starting to become a little bit of a danger. We saw Caitlin Clark
Yeah.
about a month ago.
Hers looked a little forced. I will say that.
Yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
she, a fan runs into her. Yeah. And then Kyle Filipowski is injured
Yeah.
yesterday.
Mhm.
Had to hobble off the court.
I don't know
It,
because if you tell folks they can't do it at all,
mhm.
what do people do?
They want to do it even more,
Yeah.
and you like the SEC fines their schools, but each team account, if they had their fans storm a court, they're going to put it on Instagram and social media and all that. They're going to celebrate it. It's
Yeah.
part of college basketball. It is a great
Yeah.
visual, but we do have to wonder at one point when some fan crosses a line against a player who's obviously
Right.
emotional and full of adrenaline. Is he going to do something? Hurt
Right.
somebody?
Yeah. You don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a touchy situation. But
hmm
I don't know if you can say it's gone for good just because I don't know how well that's going to be received. We know how people are,
hmm
and honestly, but I don't know. I think sometimes it's done too much.
Yeah.
Because yesterday, I mean, honestly, the name Duke, I understand it is Duke, but Duke has not been Duke for a couple of seasons, honestly.
hmm
Wake Forest was the favorite yesterday.
Yeah, and it wasn't a buzzer beater win.
Yeah,
It wasn't like some spur of the moment.
right. I mean, they were going to win the game. I mean, eh, sometimes, like, I understand it's fun. I mean, I've really never experienced rushing the court because we never really got to it, Alabama. I'm not sure if we ever would have or not. I know we thought about it a couple of times, but we didn't
hmm
came in on the short end of it. So I don't know how that would have gone, but I mean, it looks like it's a great time,
hmm
but I mean, sometimes it's done too much. Like, yes,
Yeah.
it's cool to beat Duke, but this isn't like a legendary Duke team.
Yeah.
They're probably not winning the national title. They're a decent team, but Wake Forest is a decent team too. Like, I I wouldn't necessarily waste the court storming on yesterday.
Right. And It's a weird thing that it's only done in college sports. You know, it's
Mhm,
prohibited in all the professional sports for player safety, and it's weird that we
mhm.
don't do that for
The people that aren't.
college. Yeah, for
Yeah,
younger, for student safety.
yeah,
And safety of them, you know, they can hurt themselves running on the court too. You know,
yeah,
it's a weird
exactly.
situation. It's
I
tradition,
mean,
like you said. It's overdone, but
we've seen those. I mean, yeah, people get hurt all the time, and we've seen all them. Was it when the
uh,
Auburn fans were stuck in the bushes?
yeah, I was about to say. But if we outlaw it, then we lose moments like that.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's one of those subjects where like, and then how do you stop people from doing it other than saying maybe like you if you storm the court you'll have to forfeit the game. So then
yeah.
schools actually
I
take
mean,
real preventative measures.
right. Yeah, I mean, the only way you could really do it is
Yeah,
you either do something like that, or the fine is like $10 million. It's got to be
yeah,
in either a massive amount, or
hmm
it's got to be something. Hey, if you storm the court, you lose the game.
yeah,
At that point, then you're probably going to get some people's attention. They're probably going to take the preventative measures. But I don't know if that's a route you really want to go or not. Uh, it's a slippery slope. Um,
yeah.
yeah,
It's just one of those, and I'm glad I don't have to make that decision.
yeah. Because I mean, the thing is, it's been around so long in the game.
Hmm
You know, but yeah, I think I think because it happens so much that I think that's where, like, if you haven't been a team in 20 years, or you're a 5-18 team and you knock off number one, hell yeah,
hmm
rush that court. But I mean, if you're a top 25 team or around that area, why are you rushing the court? Like,
Yeah.
it
Um,
shouldn't necessarily be considered. You shouldn't want it to be like, oh, and this is like Wake Forest is like yesterday. If I'm a Wake Forest player, I'm like, bro,
mhm.
y'all didn't have any thought and belief that we were gonna win the game. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of like the overrated chant. You're kind of like, what? Wait a minute now. You're just diminishing your win when you chant that, and I'm
Yeah,
upset.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I don't know.
it, yeah, yeah, it's just a weird thing.
Hmm.
On the court, of course, we're approaching championship week. Uh, we're starting to solidify those seeds. Alabama's still looking like a 3 seed right now.
Hmm. Yeah,
In the latest bracketology, which I believe came out after the um, let's see, it was updated. Oh no, so it would have been before the Kentucky loss. But
yeah. We were on the three
uh,
line.
yeah, on the 3 line right now, Joe Lenardi has us in Purdue's bracket.
Mm,
Of course, we'd be on the other side with Marquette,
right.
the 2 seed, St. Mary's, the 6 seed. Um, so yeah, interesting right now. Our 1 seeds are Purdue, UConn, Houston, Arizona. Uh, Houston a big win this week over Baylor.
Huge one. Down
Um,
17, came back on the road.
mhm, yeah, and those are probably teams that probably stay there. Tennessee has a shot to maybe sneak in if they win the SEC regular season and then tournament.
Yeah,
But it also
yeah,
they need one of those teams to kind of slip up ahead of them.
right. And who knows? I mean, the lot of the time though in these a lot of the tournaments, very rarely do you see the conference regular season end up winning the
Hmm
tournament as well. So
Yeah, um,
it happens time to time. Of course, we've done it 2 of the last 3 years ourselves, but for the most part, it doesn't happen very often. Um,
no, yeah, it's a hard feat. Yeah.
yeah, it's a hard thing to do.
hmm
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I could see Tennessee moving up to that one. But yeah, they would definitely need some help. But you know, overall though, I mean, there's nobody that you're like, man, this is definitely that's the beauty of like last
hmm
year, this year. I mean, some people say it's great. Some people say, they won, powers. But there's really no one that you're like, man, this is definitely your champion. This is it.
hmm
The definite number one overall if they lose, we're gonna be shocked. So I mean, it's a wide open field again. I would say even with the loss this week, I'd probably say UConn's probably the best team um, in America. But it's wide open there. So that's the beauty of it.
Yeah. Uh, and elsewhere, that's pretty much it for this week. Uh, like I said, we're coming up on championship week. Starting to get to that time of year. It gets real good in college basketball.
Oh, for sure.
Um, on the NBA side of things, nothing. I guess super noteworthy this week. Trey Young will miss about a month with a finger injury. Um, uh, Kind of feisty week in the NBA. The Heat and Pels getting a big fight. They got 5 players
Yeah,
suspended in
them too.
that.
Yeah,
The Suns and Lakers had a little heat today. There's another game where someone else got into it too.
yeah, yeah.
Steve Kerr gets a 2-year extension with
That's
uh,
huge money.
big money at 35 mil.
Wow.
Big money. I think biggest for a coach ever, right?
Yeah, because I mean that's big. That's big money for especially the NBA. Because I mean, it's probably
Yeah,
some of the as far as like head coaches, probably some of the smaller money that you see out there. So when I saw that, I was kind of a wow.
yeah.
But.
Um, Other than that, kind of see Celtics still just running away with the East.
Mhm.
They have an 8-game lead for that 1 seed, and then kind of Cleveland and Milwaukee right there for the 2 seed, and then a bunch
Yeah,
of teams behind them.
yeah. And I guess the Embiid being out, we'll see how much of an effect that has.
Mhm,
Not only for him coming back, but then also just the 76ers in general. Of course, they lost today.
mhm.
But
They're
just
struggling 3 and
yeah,
7 in their last 10 games, and they're only a
yeah.
game ahead of the play-in
uh,
tournament. So
That's
that's
that's tough because
not
that's
where they,
definitely
yeah,
not.
not where they thought they'd be.
No, not at all. I mean, and then the other thing too, when he does come back, he's back in game shape because yeah, of course he's still an athlete, but if you've been out with that type of injury, you got to build up your
Hmm.
stamina again for that, and probably come back right before the playoffs. So I mean, not the easiest time to come back at all.
Hmm.
So I don't know. Philly has had some bad luck in the when it comes to basket. The 76ers have had some bad luck.
Hmm.
So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Uh, on the western side of things, it's kind of Minnesota's got a half-game lead over OKC for the 1 seed,
Mhm.
and the Clippers and Nuggets are both right there.
Yeah.
The Nuggets just feel like they're just on cruise control until it gets
Until
playoff
they have.
time
Yeah.
yeah. You wonder if they just don't turn it on the last month, get that 1 seed and home court advantage, and then just
Right.
go through again.
But honestly, I don't think that they even really need home
Mm-mm.
home advantage. I mean, they'll be fine whether they're three, whether they're one, like the Nuggets or the Nuggets.
Yeah.
Um, and the thing too, I mean, it's a cool story, with like Minnesota and OKC. But does anybody really think either one of those is going to come out the West? I mean,
Uh,
it's a
yeah.
bit, yeah. I mean, it's a cool story. I like it. A lot of young talent there. But you just don't know. Until you see
Yeah.
it, you really don't have faith that those young teams are going to be out, or teams that haven't really been in that area for a while are really going to take it to the next step and just win the West. Excuse me.
Yeah. Y- you wonder. Obviously, they've had great seasons; they deserve it.
Yeah,
But yeah, like you said, can those youthful cores really take you? I mean, the questions are always there about Minnesota and Carl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert. Is that enough? Are they consistent enough? We
yeah.
obviously know
Edwards
Anthony
is that
and Edwards is just that dude.
he's the, he is
But
that guy.
But yeah, can they both of those teams can they make that consistent run to win, three straight 4 game or 7 game series to get the NBA
That's the thing.
finals? You wouldn't be surprised at all to see either one of them, especially with home court in the conference finals.
Right.
But you'd be surprised to see both, or you would think they would come up. Like, yeah, like if OKC makes it against Denver, do we have
Do we
great
have faith?
run? But yeah, but
Yeah. Could they
and
beat
then
Denver? I don't think anybody really believes that
yeah,
at the moment. It'd be cool to see, but yeah, I mean, I don't,
yeah,
I don't think anybody really has faith in that.
yeah, and that's nothing against
But
OKC or Minnesota.
still,
That's Denver's that good,
I
and
mean, but
they're young.
the
You
upstarts,
gotta
like it's like
you
the
gotta take your lumps
Kings.
first
I
and then come
mean,
back. You know.
they had that great. Was it last year? They had a great season, but no one really thought that the
Um,
Kings were going to go to the NBA
well,
Finals. We've seen it with
a
Memphis
little
team.
technical difficulty. Not
Couple
sure if this is still
had some.
recorded. Yeah, there you go. I don't know if we recorded that last little bit, but we'll see.
No, but we just seen it with like the Kings. They had a great regular season, and then you really never thought that they were going to actually win the West.
Hmm.
We've seen it with Memphis a couple of times, but they've had great regular seasons and a fun team. But you really don't have faith that they were going to do it. You would like to see it because I like Alexander. I like Anthony Edwards. I mean, but until they do it, but. I will say, the NBA has a lot of young talent, so that's a lot of talent there. That's where as some of the older guys get, LeBron steps away,
Hmm.
and others get older. The NBA is definitely still in very good hands. A lot of young talent there.
Yeah. Um, and yeah, coming up behind that 4 pack, speaking young talent, the Pels, and then your Mavs have both been
Yeah,
pretty hot lately. Both eight
yeah,
and two
we
in their
won
last 10. The
seven,
Mavericks have won 7 in a
7 in a
row.
row. Playing the
Um,
Pacers right now.
mhm. They're both
So
fighting to stay in the playoffs and not have to fight in that play in. The
just want to stay
Mavericks
out.
are, yeah, technically tied. Um, they have one fewer win than the Suns, but also one fewer loss right now. So they right now are in the sixth spot. Yeah, just fighting. Those two are fighting the Suns and Kings to keep them away off their back and get that 5 and 6 seed.
Yeah, because
It,
that's important, I think, to
mhm,
stay out of that one game, possibly eliminated scenario. I mean, just because it's unpredictable, a lot of unpredictable, and
mhm.
anything to stay out of that is what you want to do.
Yeah.
Just don't know.
Especially with like both their teams need it too. The
Oh, yeah,
Mavs need it. They need Luca in a playoff series.
yeah,
They need to show that this Luca Kyrie thing was right, at least to get them to the playoffs where they want to be.
exactly.
And the Pelicans need to get there with Zion too. He needs to play in the playoffs, not just to play in. Um,
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know, the Pels have fought hard before. The memorable uh, series against the Suns. They've gotten through the play-in before, but you want to get to that automatic. You don't want
The
to have to
next one.
deal with
Yeah,
that.
you don't have to even worry about that extra
Yeah,
game.
particularly, and we've talked about it with the playoff before, but right now they both uh, feel like they deserve it. The Kings are the 8 seed right now, and the Warriors behind them are 3 games back.
Yeah,
So yeah, if you got a little chip on your shoulder, if you're that 7 and 8 team, and you're like, hey
right,
man, we did our job, but
right.
um, and that's pretty solidified as far as like, I mean, the Lakers have a 4 game lead over the Jazz for that last play-in spot, so it would take something. And the Jazz have just been playing awful lately.
Yeah,
Um,
the season just caught up with them.
yeah,
But they got
basically.
so well. But yeah,
But yeah, I think that's it for basketball talk. Sorry, let's see. Get notes here. Trying to really think what else is going on this week in general in the sports world that spring training
oh,
has started.
yeah,
Um,
spring training did start. I'd probably say just as Alabama fans with the whole Alabama radio.
oh yeah, we should mention. Eli Gold is no
Yeah,
longer our play-by-play man in football.
yeah,
And it appears to not be a mutual decision.
yeah. That's
Alabama announced that he would no longer be with the broadcast team. Chris Stewart going to full-time play-by-play, not just on the road.
mhm,
And then Eli comes out and says it basically wasn't his decision, and that he's not retiring. He's still going.
yeah.
Did he ever announce what team he's going to announce for
I,
now?
but I heard he had already gotten a job. Well, he
Mm-hmm.
said he was in talks with somebody already. So I mean, I'm not shocked because I mean, he's a talented guy.
Mm-hmm.
You hate to see it end like it did. I mean, it was a historic run. I mean, he was there for what, since '88. So I mean, it's been
Yeah.
forever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, been through all what, 7 national titles and all the SEC championships and
Mm-hmm.
been through it all. But yeah, it's weird how it ended. When I first saw it come across, I was like, well, damn, is his health bad again? Is something,
Mm-hmm.
something happened there? And you hear it. It sounds like, even last year, things may have not been good as far as his relationship with UA, because it sounded like he wanted to do the entire season last year
Mm-hmm.
and kind of tell, hey, bro, you're kind of the home games. So I don't know. And then, he said that basically he just tried to give him, hey, give me one more year and then I'll walk away. Cool. And they told him no. I was like, oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't, I'm sure it's somewhere in the middle, but it's like, man, not the prettiest end of a long-term relationship for sure. I
No.
know a lot of fans are pissed off right now because I mean that's who a lot of people grown up with and know as the guy on the radio for sure. I mean, you have to be a lot older to really know anybody before Eli Gold.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, it's he's been the guy for as long as I've really been consciously a Alabama fan.
yeah, for sure.
We've seen his analyst, his sidekicks change over the years, but
Yeah,
it'll be different. And like we said, all Chris Stewart is great; he deserves it too. It's just a weird way for it to end for Eli,
sure.
a guy that's such an institution on Alabama radio.
All right. Yeah,
Um,
his voice and yeah, it's crazy how it's going to end. But hey, I guess
mhm,
things don't always go as planned.
mhm.
A lot of changes for 2024 at Alabama for sure.
Yeah. Um, Other than that, yeah, it's like we've mentioned, it's that time of year in the sports world. We're just gearing up for the draft and NFL free agency.
Hmm.
Um, like we mentioned, spring training did start. Cody Bellinger did sign with the Cubs this week, um, so he'll stay there. Still a few kind of big names. Um, Waiting to find a team. They might wait some to the season or maybe later in spring training.
Right.
But other than that, not much going on. So I said last week that I'd throw some ideas or whatever at you, maybe realignments or just wild ideas,
Yeah.
and see what you think about them. And then I didn't really do my homework this week, but so instead of just throwing some half-ass one out there, I will work on one this week, and next week we'll have a legit,
Nice.
some fun idea, yeah, for you to actually sink your teeth into. And we'll just call this a shorter episode this week. Nothing wrong with that. So what has been done up real good for you this week?
Done up real good for me this week. Just watched my daughter in another academic competitions this weekend. Just was a science Olympiad before they get ready for state tournaments. So
Mhm.
I'm just seeing her involved in that's just cool to watch. How about you?
I'm going to say the return of spring weather to Birmingham, for now at least. There's always maybe one more little cold dip,
Oh,
but the worst of it seemed to be over. It was a nice day. Went to the park today.
nice.
Um, so it's just nice for that time of year to get back and have a little bit of some moderate weather before the crushing heat of a southern summer. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, that's it. That'll do it for us this week, folks. A little bit of a quick episode for you, as quick as we do anyway. As always, do subscribe, give us good ratings on wherever you listen to your podcast. Tell your friends about us, tell your rich friends about us. Check out all the podcasts on the Alabama Take family of podcasts. You can find them same place you find us, or you can also go to alabamatake.com to see the occasional writings. Of course, this was the last week of the challenge season, so the write up on the final is up on the site right now. And then every now and again, somebody gets the itch to put something on there. But it's also where you can find all of the podcast as well. Thanks again for listening. Do keep it done up real good out there yourselves, folks. Greg, take it easy, buddy.
You too, buddy.